quarantined.
How do I explain it? It's just like I said. It's just kind of weird. It's like, or like my mood will affect my sexual mood. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm stressed about something or I'm trying to finish, like I don't want to have sex. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't physically want it. And it's like growing up, you see the imagery from everywhere. You think like, oh, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to have all of this shit. And it's like, well, I'm like 32 going into 33 now. And I'm like, you know what? I'm worried about this project deadline and I don't feel like getting my dick sucked.
I don't fancy that today.
Yeah, am I okay? Is this normal? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just even things like that. Like, nobody talks about the quiet part out loud. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, those are things that are needed.
And even the idea of like not wanting to have sex for men is not a conversation.
Right.
That's not a conversation that we ever have. The idea of like being asked for consent is not something like I asked a group of guys the other day, when was the last time, university students, when was the last time you were asked for consent in sex? And maybe 2 of them had an example out of about 15 guys. And the rest of them were like, I don't think that's ever happened to me, which is no surprise to me because when I was 18, that had never happened to me either. But I think that space of like sexual desire and like sexual performance is so linked to like performance, right? Like it's like my masculinity is so inherently tied to the fact that I can dick someone down that like even if I don't want to, I still have to do it because I've got something to prove here.
Right.
Like I've got to show that I'm really that guy. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a messy world that we all live in and inhabit. And it's like, I think all of these things, like all the different ways that masculinity manifests, right, just feel like a lot of pressure. Like, because actually, if you don't want to have sex, like if you're a man in your 20s and you're struggling with your mental health and you don't know what mental health is, you will have no explanation for why you don't feel like having sex. But it's not only men that uphold patriarchy, right? So you will be feeling bad because you know you should be wanting to have sex. Your partner also probably feels like there's something wrong with them because you don't want to have sex with them. There's also an expectation that you should want to have sex, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you as an individual. So all of that just puts you in a position where you can't say no to sex. But if somebody can't say no to sex, that's not great sex, do you know what I mean? And I think there's 2 elements of this. One is like on a basic consent level, but the other level is about enjoyment. The other level is like, actually, how much are we as men enjoying our lives and the fullness of our lives if we are so limited and bound by these restrictions and these ways that we're supposed to be? Like, it's just long. Do you know what I mean? It's just not fun. Like, it just feels lame. Like, I remember the first time one of my ex-partners bought me flowers. And I was like, why would I want flowers, bro? Like, this is moist. Like, I don't need flowers. I remember waking up in the morning and seeing them open up and like coming back in the afternoon and seeing that they were facing different directions and being like, oh, flowers are actually quite lit. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a whole world of like enjoying something that I just closed myself off from. Or the first time I went for a mani-pedi, and I was like, I feel a bit uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to look like a waste man in the salon. Do you know what I mean? And then getting there, and they gave me some headphones, and Just Friends with Justin Timberlake was playing on this little TV, and my feet were in the water and my hands were getting done. And I was like, this is
such a nice experience.
The most relaxed I've ever felt in my life. Like, I never knew that this was the only other time I feel like this is when I'm in the barber's getting a trim. Do you know what I mean? Like, when somebody's just looking after me and I'm relaxed. Right. But it feels weird that like there's whole sides of society that are just cut off from us that we don't get to experience. And I think that shows up like sexually, I think it shows up emotionally, I think it shows up physically in terms of like health and physical health and all of those different types of things, man. And it just, it feels very, very limiting in a lot of ways.